Hi there, everyone. This is Suzanne Wagner, and welcome to the Intuitive Patterns for the month of December 2019. When I do this, I kind of do a mixture of the astrology and the numerology, and I try and put all the pieces together and then throw different decks of cards. And I work with 6 different decks of cards, sometimes 7, depending on my mood. So this month in the Osho Zen Tarot, I have the Schizophrenia card, the Sorrow card, and the Source card. In the medicine cards, I've got Grouse, Ant, and Hummingbird. In the Mayan Oracle, I have Dissonance, Adventurer's Quest, and Complex Stability. In the Ancient Egyptian Tarot, I have the Ten of Swords, the Hierophant, and in the Aleister Crowley Tarot, I have Abundance, Dominion, Princess of Wands. The Healing Earth Tarot, I have the Man of Shields, the Ace of Crystals, and the Ten of Feathers. And in the Words of Truth, I have Sacred Fun, Brilliance, Pushing, and Domain Shift. So, the astrology for 2019 is that there's a whole lot of Capricorn going on. With Pluto, the planet of death, rebirth, transformation, and change, and Saturn, the planet of hard work and struggle, the lord of karma, and the planet of trials and tribulations, and Jupiter, the planet of expansion, money, love, and abundance, and Venus, the planet of love, beauty, harmony, and negotiation, all in the melancholic, dark, cold, bitter, dry sign of Capricorn. We should expect a good swift kick in the butt to all things that have been tragically stuck and frozen in the places where humanity fears change. So again, Saturn and Pluto are going towards this conjunction on January 12th, 2020, which is a big deal. And all you have to do is go on the internet and put in January 12th, 2020 astrology, and you're going to get a whole bunch of things out there that are not just me saying, uh-oh, but there's a whole bunch of things out there and a lot of information for you to follow. But as this conjunction comes in, this energy is going to sort of contract, intensify, and get heavier and colder and more bitter because we're in the sign of Capricorn. Now, in December, as all of this begins to happen, it's going to rile a few things up. So Jupiter is the largest planet, and I like to think of Jupiter as Zeus. And Zeus is ready, willing, and able to force that entrenched dragon that is hiding all the gold and keeping it to himself and unwilling to share out of the castle's dungeon and into the light. And it begins to happen on December 2nd and 3rd, because that's when Jupiter is actually going to go into Capricorn. And that is going to be one very pissed off dragon. Pardon me while I have a little bit of a crag in my throat. Okay. So clearly, this is a metaphor for all the drama as we move towards this Saturn-Pluto conjunction. Things have been astrologically frozen in winter for a long time, and while the slow planets are not in any hurry to move, Jupiter is a fiery source of energy. It's the largest planet, and it is going to melt those glaciers just like they are for real in the world, and the ice is going to move much more rapidly down the slopes of our lives. Instead of moving a yard a year, that ice is going to move a mile a year. And such rapid change can cause huge amounts of destruction if not prepared for in advance. Jupiter is not happy, or not super happy, in Capricorn, and it feels a little bit displaced. Similar to a woman dressed in leather with spiked purple hair, torn hose, and goth boots, walking into a country club setting where appropriate dress is required and essential. Jupiter in this position has the agenda to shake up the establishment and to shatter the norms and shock those with sophisticated tastes right out of their comfort zone. Plan on getting hit over the next few weeks and months as that old school control is going to shatter into a million pieces by those goth boots. While you may not see all that unraveling happening exclusively in the month of December, know that by next December 2020, you will be remembering my words. Okay, so Venus, the planet of what we love and value, is going to be right between the two bad boys of the zodiac, Pluto and Saturn. Foundations that have had cracks growing and expanding for a long time are going to crumble, turn to quicksand and sinkholes. Venus will go into the friendly sign of Aquarius on the 20th of December, and that should help the holidays out because Venus in Aquarius loves to mingle and do the kind of meet and greet thing. But we can't forget the eclipse in Capricorn on, wait for it, Christmas Day. Now, I had a little bit of a discussion with my editor for the Catalyst magazine about this because some people say it's Christmas Day. Some people say it's the 26th. It happens at 12:25 a.m. East Coast Standard Time. So for almost everybody else, unless you're on the East Coast, it's happening on Christmas Day because, you know, they're behind time-wise. And regardless, you feel an eclipse 6 weeks before and 6 weeks after, definitely a few days before and definitely a few days after. So the bottom line is you're still being affected by the eclipse on Christmas Day. And so this is going to create an intense holiday season. It's kind of like blind spots, things that have been hidden get revealed, and it heralds endings and beginnings. My suggestion under this astrology is to keep the holidays short and sweet. Hanging out for too long will make all of those issues that are still unresolved too obvious and uncomfortable, depending on where this eclipse is actually hitting in your personal chart. So regardless, it's just like, don't overstay your welcome. And if something starts to get a little touchy, just go ahead and leave early. I mean, so there is a winter solstice on December 21st, which you will feel because of the eclipse is so close right there. And what's great about winter solstice, in case you haven't noticed in the weather, it keeps getting darker and darker and darker, and it will finally on December 21st begin to get lighter and lighter and lighter. So I remind everybody that solstices, specifically winter and summer solstice, it's kind of like winter solstice. You know, when we get up here, it goes slower and slower and slower and slower. And then it'll go slow, 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 fast, 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 swing, swing, swing. And then it'll go slow, slow, slow as it goes into summer again. So we're at this kind of like place where it's dragging and it's just like getting darker and darker. And it just feels like you're never going to get out from underneath this. But it will start to shift, and it will hopefully kind of brighten the mood a little bit. So because this month astrologically, everybody and everything is trying to end on something positive, but know that Neptune and Pisces can take you too far out of this reality and into illusion just at the wrong time if you let it. So don't go into la-la, don't go into pipe dreams, don't go into illusions too far. Definitely don't drink and drive, especially between Christmas and New Year's. There's too much building up, and there's just moments that you can get yourself in trouble, and so let's just avoid that at all costs, because January 2020 is no joke, and everyone has to be ready in whatever way, shape, and form that they feel compelled to be ready. So stepping out of the astrology for a moment and taking a look at the cards, we discover that we are continuing the back and forth of emotional intensity, and the drama does not let up. The way through is to be your own source and connection to higher law and order, because we are not in one world, but two worlds that are pulling and pushing each other apart. Now, what's interesting about that statement is that in the 1990s, when I was meditating, the guides would say, it's like there are these two worlds in the world, and there are moments that they kind of come together and they overlap. And in those moments, one side can jump from one side to the other side, or back and forth, vice versa. But then what happens is that they will pull apart again. And then it's much harder to make that leap of faith. Right now, these worlds are energetically pulling apart. And now I understand what the guides meant by that, because I hear everyone saying that we need to come together. But in reality, two very different worlds are continuing to break apart. And I think in order to heal something, you first have to feel it and you have to honor it. We each need to feel the pain, sorrow, and suffering that is being inflicted upon so many forms of life at this time. We need to be in enough pain in order to change and do things differently. The word that stands out this month is dissonance. When you create sounds that are disharmonious and unsuitable, the tension and the clashing of those sounds can be so uncomfortable as to make one unconscious. I mean, literally, to have you pass out. There is so much emotion that is playing out in our world, and some people in life forms are collapsing under the strain of attempting to make sense out of senselessness. Some things will never come into alignment, and that is just the truth. So the continued forceful application of opinions as facts will just manifest more suffering. The thought universe is attempting to control the physical world, and that is not realistic. The only choice is to confront confusion either in yourself or your world. There is a way to harness chaos and spin it in productive ways, but spinning thoughts is never going to get you anywhere other than lost, confused, and dazed. You can spin the physical world into ways that are organically constructive. And when you do that, the chaos finds its own order and it begins to align with a natural balance. And that's what we're trying to do here, but it doesn't seem to be happening as organically as we would like it to be. The Ant card reminds us that patience is the way through. And patience is natural when you are prepared. If you are even slightly prepared, you worry less when things hit hard. You have some wiggle room to work with, and then life is less scary. Everything in the cards is reminding us this month to move. The best way to integrate huge waves of emotional energy are through dance, movement, spirals, exercise, anything that's got some way to integrate the mind, body, and the spirit. If you refuse to move, with the spin of the physical world, then the spin wreaks havoc on your mind and thoughts. If you are on a sacred path, your vision is clear. If you are sidetracked by the confusing mental projections of others, you will tend to fall into the unresolved issues of your own past. We are witnessing huge violations of great principles of life. This is a form of desecration. There has been a violent disrespect for life itself, and the consequences of that are painfully obvious. I suggest doing something as a family to counteract that fact. I personally am continuing to plant trees on my property, high altitude old growth redwoods, and 5 trees for every member of my family and my extended family. I am planting 5 more as I write this article in November. And I need to actively do something to help this world. And I hope that you want to do something also. My suggestion over the holidays is do something together as a family. Plant some trees. Do something that will make a difference in the world. Because when you plant trees, you're not planting trees for you per se, though I love looking at my little baby trees. You are actually planting something for your children's children and the future of humanity. So let's make the end of this year something of value and worthwhile. I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday, and I look forward to talking to you guys for the predictions in January for 2020. It's going to be a wild ride, so I hope that you guys check in then. Thanks.